So, good morning, everyone, and well, good afternoon, really. So, welcome to our latest episode of Hypnotherapy Reflections from Training to Practice. And today we are switching up a little bit, and we've got actually one of our lecturers, and we're going to have a few of our lecturers come on board and talk about themselves and why they become hypnotherapists, and also what it's like being a lecturer for CPHT. So, Nicole's got many years of experience working within the field of helping people, particularly in the learning disability and neurodiverse area of the world. So we're going to have a lovely experience listening to her journey, her insights, both personal and those going through CPHT, both as a student and a lecturer, and the powerful impact that solution-focused hypnotherapy has had. So get ready for the inspiring conversation highlighting the transformative power of hypnotherapy. So Nicole, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm my business is Hummingbird Hypnotherapy. I'm based in Bourne in Lincolnshire, but I work up and down the UK and internationally sometimes, depending if I get sent that way. I work online and as well as in person with one-to-ones, and I also supervise a number of solution-focused clinical
So
hypnotherapists
you're a
as well.
supervisor as well, so you support
Yeah.
people after they've trained through supervision.
Yep.
And you said you work globally, and I guess they're online, they're not commuting to see you. So
Well, I've not been asked to go there yet.
yeah, yeah.
I can
Well, you've
forever
been on,
wish.
I think you've told me you've been on a few international conferences where you've been asked to be a speaker. So that's pretty
Yes.
exciting.
Yeah.
So first question I have for you, Nicole, is what motivated you to pursue training as a hypnotherapist?
Do you want me to answer this one truthfully?
Well,
So
what I'd like to get to, because I know your normal answer, and I now wish I hadn't asked that question, but I'd like to understand possibly what the motivation below that first answer is.
okay, so um I have always had kind of an insight into different complementary therapies. Our printer's just decided to print into different complementary therapies after having quite an upbringing where my mum especially has always sought support from other avenues other than kind of like going down the NHS route. And I had a vested interest in mind, body, spirit shows growing up. It's something that I've always loved, something I've always enjoyed. And as we'll probably talk about in a bit, I had hypnotherapy myself for a number of things, even before I took the decided to join the course. But more importantly, I realized that I needed to do something other than what I was doing, being a new mum. I knew that working in children's services, which is my background, prior to this, that I knew that things were changing. And for me to be able to be kind of ahead of myself, I needed to do something different that allowed me to support either where I was at the time or potentially moving forward. I didn't realize the massive impact it would probably have until about month 7 of the course.
I think that's quite useful, usual, because I think I was probably about the same when I did my
Yeah.
training. So you said you worked in children's services before you become a hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
That's quite a broad statement. So what is it that you did?
So I used to work for Peterborough City Council, and we came under children's services, but our umbrella was short breaks. So we were a centre in Dogsthorpe, not far from you, and we supported parents and their families with children with additional neurodiverse, challenging behaviour, physical needs. And we were like a respite service. So parents would have to obviously go to panel, get a bid for this service. And then we were basically carers in that service, but a lot more than just that. A lot of the young people that came in had such a wide variety of needs, from feeding, support. We used to go out on day trips a lot. I was known as a day trip queen actually, because we were never in. If I had a chance to load up a minibus and get a load of kids out and cause some commotion somewhere, we were always on that minibus. But yeah, and I actually loved my job. It was a really, really great job to have, and it also kind of fitted in with my family at the time. But it was exhausting. I remember, like, I've reflected a few times on the job I did before. I think I was just in a constant state of fight or flight all
Yeah.
the time, because you're just constantly waiting for, as much as you don't want to be, you're constantly waiting for something to happen.
Yes.
And you know, the back catalogue of stories that we've got from different shifts and
Yeah.
things and situations that we've been in, and you just I look back and think, wow, like, how did we ever get out of that? Unfortunately, that service isn't there anymore, which I find really sad, because this service that I used to work for would probably be full at least 100 times over now.
Yeah. I think that's the way a lot of services, social services and medical service are moving now, unfortunately. But it's quite a common story I overhear lots of students talking about working in um, those social environments, and they love their job, whether
Yeah.
that's teaching, nursing, caring, but it's hard work and there's loads of
Mm.
other aspects to it. So I do get that. So what, you know, sort of like, inspired you to transition into hypnotherapy, to be a hypnotherapist?
Um, so I had actually taken a break from work because I wasn't very well,
Hmm.
mentally, weirdly. And I decided at that point that I was going to take a leap of faith. I had been asked by my manager at the time to call in to be checked upon, as to how I was doing that week. And it was at a specific time on a Friday. And so I'd done the school run, come back, and I made the phone call, and my manager was having a cigarette at the time I rang. And something just fueled that decision. And I just, when she called me back 15 minutes later, I just said, I'm checking in, but I'm also checking in to let you know I quit.
Wow.
And she wasn't expecting it. She was a little bit surprised. And after I got off, I kind of had a sense of relief and a massive sense of fear, like, holy crap, what have
Yeah.
I just done? But actually, I look back now, and leaving there, I left at the right time. The tide had kind of turned
Mm.
on where we were working. People were bickering a lot. We didn't know whether we were going to have jobs and things. So ultimately, going and giving that kind of notice at that time was beneficial for me. I'd got a number of clients already in place, so I'd
So you
probably
was
say about
already doing
9.
hypnotherapy part-time.
Yeah, yeah. So I was running 30 hours a week working for children's services, and then I was probably spending 10, 15 hours a week building my practice at the
Mhm.
same time as looking after 2 kids under 5.
Yeah, wow. So it's doable then. You found
Yeah,
time
if you
to
like
do it.
coffee, it's great.
Yeah. You ultimately made a decision. So what
Yeah.
inspired you? What about the hypnotherapy was more interested in than that steady, regular, always been there job?
I think for me, it was just the fact that I could help individuals that wanted to be helped,
Yeah.
more than anything. I think, people have this kind of negative perception about hypnotherapy. I think many of us are collectively working towards a goal of breaking down those barriers, as this is what this interview is for, but also to understand that at the time, some of the people that I was seeing, they were people that genuinely believed in what I did,
Mm.
and to acknowledge that people actually want to work with others, and that person holds space for them in that time, and they move really quickly to a goal that they want to achieve, and then they leave.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other, I guess in some respects, there's no other greater feedback than that, especially when you enjoy helping people.
No, absolutely. So interestingly, you said that you come from an upbringing where your mum was always looking for alternative ways to get better
Yeah.
and quite holistic in her
Yes.
approach to the world. So what has CPHT, the training in solution-focused hypnotherapy, how has that shaped the way you work with your clients?
Um, I think it gives me the understanding I don't have to help you.
Wow.
For me, that's like I hold space for people to step into and they help themselves.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like my whole role, my whole life has been helping other people as a carer, whether that was elderly, mentally ill, learning disabilities, neurodivergence, any of that. It was always helping them. This is a totally different space, because as much as I have a responsibility for the person that sat in front of me, and I also have a vast amount of care for that person, I facilitate a space that means they move
Mm,
rather than I have to move to support them. And I think so many people don't realize that having someone that you are accountable to, but you are the one that moves
mm.
rather than them, allows a totally different set of boundaries to form.
Yeah.
And it's just in a really kind but yet adaptable way. I know that most therapy I've ever experienced has just been hard. And I know my experience of hypnotherapy has never been hard.
Wow.
It's always allowed me to explore what I'm not doing, because I know everything that I know about myself. And a lot of the time it's because I'm not doing the stuff I need to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what we do, isn't it? We
So,
help other people find their instructions, I guess.
so what was it about the learning you got in CPHT? Because a lot of the care work, a lot of the um, types of therapy you've experienced are there to tell you what you need to do, and they're very much about you expressing your problems.
Yeah.
How's what how's what you learned at CPHT help that?
Because the knowledge that you get from CPHT allows you to evidence every little sentence that you say.
Yeah,
You know, everything that we speak about, everything I do in day to day, everything I do in practice, I know why I do it, you know, and whether that's a good or bad knowing, depending on the day.
absolutely. So you've talked about knowing. So how do you
Yeah,
say one of the things we cover a lot when we do our training is a lot of the advances in research, a lot of
yeah.
neuroscience and things like that. So we really understand how we can help people. But that's a shift in um, constantly shifting element of what we do. How do you stay up to date? Making sure you,
So I obviously find out stuff from you.
yeah,
Cheating. So I find out stuff from you, and there's a number of people that I follow, and there's a couple of research programs that I follow, and anything new that's relevant to what we do, I always kind of read up on it. I will wholeheartedly put my hand up. Reading a book for me is really hard. I'll get two or
yes,
three chapters in and I get bored. So micro learning has been a thing. You know, if I see a research paper, I follow a site called Medical News, and anything that I feel is relevant to anything that we already do, I always go and have a look at it. I also have a look at a lot of the King's College stuff as well, because I feel that's very relevant
yeah,
to what we do in practice. But also kind of acknowledging that obviously, you know, being members of the associations and things like that, they'll also put up to date information on there whenever it comes about, and CPHT will update anything
yeah.
new in line with what we need to teach.
And you're right, you do learn some stuff from me, and you said it's cheating, but that's actually when I'm working with other lecturers,
Mm,
that's my role in CPHT, make sure we've got all the latest
yeah.
evidence. So that's pretty cool. So you're always lecturing on the latest stuff. So that's nice to know. So a big question for you, because you said you've got two young children,
Mm.
family, and hypnotherapy practice. You also lecture. You do quite a lot of work. How do you manage and maintain the work-life balance running a hypnotherapy practice, being a mum, being a lecturer?
Well, you know, you just do it, right? I think more than anything, I don't like ultimately I don't have a choice that no one's going to come along and do it for me. I've always been very driven in my work. I'm passionate about my work. My husband totally understands I'm passionate about my work, so he's kind of got no choice in the matter. But also, you know, I work how I used to work. So when I transitioned from working in children's services to this, I almost kept the same shift pattern, so that then I knew it already worked. Many people don't know I home educate my eldest, and my youngest goes to school. So I juggle that alongside what I do this in this practice. And so many people will say, oh, how do you do it? But I purposefully work till 9 o'clock at night. I'm not a morning person, so I don't usually start work until lunchtime. I'd much prefer to work later because that works for me. But it also gives me the time in my practice that I need to be aware. And I know that Paul, my husband, is already home at that time as well. So we're a little bit like ships in the night, but for us as a family, it works. And then on weekends, yeah, anybody that knows me, it's downtime, it's family time, it's stuff together always.
Yeah.
Because that's a really important part of my life too.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing is real good self-awareness. You know what works best for you and yours,
Yeah,
and you set those boundaries for you.
yeah, I have
You've
to.
got a level
Yeah,
of control. So, which is, I guess, one of the things I hear a lot from people is they want to get control back, where you said it, you kept the same shift patterns, but you can decide whether you run the shift today, sort of thing, much more
yeah.
than you used to be able to.
Oh, absolutely. And also I know that just from, like, say, self-awareness, like I know I don't function if I don't exercise. I don't function if I don't eat well. I don't function if I don't drink water. I don't function if I'm not doing at least something in my day that's for me. And I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. I work out for an hour even before the day starts. I don't check my phone first thing. I don't check my emails. That first hour is kind of mine.
Yeah, yeah,
So, it's important, it's important for me to do that because then I can kind of step into the role of
yeah.
whatever anyone else needs me to be that day. And I'm kind of sorted.
So I was going to ask you, what self-care practice do you engage in and to keep you
Yeah,
grounded,
that.
stay effective? And I think you've just answered that question, so I won't
Yeah,
ask it again. But
yeah,
you know what works for you,
yeah.
which is really cool. Um, so looking at your clients, have you got a success story from your practice, or what you do, what stands out? Something surprising or unexpected?
I think when you work with so many people, it's hard to kind of find just one
Yeah.
or two that like kind of you think, oh wow. But I have to say on the weekend, I was teaching Peterborough on the weekend, and I saw that one of the young people that I worked with last year for quite a while, she was at a concert and she was with her parents, who I've now built up a really nice relationship with, working through a school that they're associated with. And they messaged me and said, look, we've just had this conversation and thought we would never dream of doing this. There was no way she would stand in this concert eating in front of people. There's thousands of people here, and enjoying what she was enjoying. And I think just things like that, because for many people, that's normal, right?
Mm.
Like lots of people will just go, oh, I'm going to a gig this weekend and just go. But, if you're somebody with a really angsty brain that's risk assessed the living daylights of every part of it, and there's any part of that that's wrong, you ain't going, full
Yeah,
stop.
absolutely. I
You
know
know,
when Pink's in concert, you won't do any lecturing because you're always
no,
at
I
the
won't.
concerts. So, but
Drop and
it's
run.
amazing feedback. I mean, I'm seeing someone today for the first time, and I hope they will want to come to see me, but they've just finished their exams and they're really suffering with social anxiety. And
Yeah.
just to see that person doing the things which they want to do, ah, it's a bit special. So that's really, thank you for that. Um, how do you deal with or handle skepticism from people around you, particularly people who will just have a misconception?
Um, I've kind of had to deal with it from the start. When I first started out, I got quite a lot of indirect feedback from people on social media about what I was doing, how it was very woo, and what do you think you're trying to achieve, and all of those sorts of things. And now, like now I know what I do and what I've done. It's almost sitting there going, actually, you know what? That is so disrespectful to me, because there
Mm.
are thousands now of people that I've worked with that have benefited from
Yes.
having therapy, who would sit and sing about it all day long.
Yeah.
And not only have you disrespected me and my work, you've also disrespected their recovery. So
Yeah.
if people are skeptical about anything that we do, I respond in one of two ways. One is I wouldn't disrespect your work by asking or questioning it the way you've just done to
Mm.
me. And two, I bombard the crap out of them with science because
Yeah.
I've realized I know quite a bit now.
You know, lots. Yeah. So, I mean, and again, that does help with those misconceptions and those people who you can't help. You just
Yeah.
let get on, I guess. So a little question for you. What personal transformation have you experienced because
Mm.
you trained or now training others as a hypnotherapist? What's it done for you?
Well, I've got a new hairstyle. I mean,
Yeah, but it's always been pink.
um, yeah, but I think I've just got braver as the years gone on. I guess in some respects, confidence, definitely. You know, like I am who I have always probably wished to be
Mm.
in this kind of area, but also in respect of my family, my kids. It's just helped me kind of process stuff, if you like, excuse me, like life happens, right? And we all have stuff. And we all know that sometimes that stuff gets stuck and we need to process it and we need to work through it. And it's number dialed straight to my hypnotherapist. I need some support. And that's been through everything,
Yeah.
even before I joined the course, you know, support after having PTSD, support having my next child. Thank you very much. And above and beyond that, I've got like I guess in some respect, I've got my own hypno hotline that I can go, you know, my bucket's full, help. And I know that it's always there. Whereas before this, I never knew where that would be. It was
Yeah.
almost like try this and see if that works or try that. Now I know that through all of the different situations I've been in, this has always worked. Doesn't matter what it's been. It's
Mm.
always helped me to kind of take a step back and go, yeah, I can see what I'm doing to myself, because ultimately that's what I'm doing. And gives me the chance to look at it from the perspective of, okay, I need to get back to doing this
Yeah.
to help me out of it. And I
Fantastic.
think more than anything as well, when you've been in that situation and someone sits in front of you and they kind of tell you the same kind of story that resonates with you, you can sit and knowingly internally know that they will move because you've done the same.
So you've covered about the support you get, and I was going to ask you, when you were training, did you feel well supported from the instructors, from the mentors who were training you?
Mm.
And has that given you any insight on how to support the students you now lecture?
Yeah, I think like my training was very different to now.
Yes.
You know, and even my learning was very different to now, because obviously training to do the course and then training again to utilize the knowledge to then deliver this course, we didn't have all the tech stuff that we have now. We didn't have all the background science that we have now. Yes, it was always there, but it was never as easy, I guess, in some
Yeah.
respects. It was all notes and you've got to remember this stuff. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I remember just having so many conversations with you, like, how am I even going to remember all of this stuff?
Yeah.
And now it's on a PowerPoint, it's in front of me, and I just add my stuff to it. It makes things so
Mm.
much easier as a lecturer. Um, but I think at the time I had quite a small group. So I felt like because of that, we were kind of guided a little bit more personably, I guess, to be able to achieve what we wanted to do. But more importantly, moving forward, knowing that there is somebody there that will help you. Like, I didn't come on the course because I wanted to be a hypnotherapist. I came on the course because I wanted it to support me with where I was with my
Yeah.
work ethic, and then realized actually I could have a business out of this. And now I look back and think, blimey, that was a big decision that you made, and it was one that I don't regret whatsoever.
Mm.
But teaching individuals wherever they're from, whatever their background as students, that support is there. You know, at the end of every weekend, if you need me, you know where we are. This is our email addresses.
Yeah.
You know, please contact us, because we don't teach people to fail. We teach people because we want everyone to
Yeah.
go out and be a solution-focused clinical hypnotherapist, because we as lecturers and as people in practice know how awesome it is
Yeah. Yeah.
and how good it is for people to have it, whether it's in life personally or whether it's as a business.
So one of the things you said there is that you never just come on a course to be a hypnotherapist, you come on to learn
Um,
more. And that's not unusual. However, most people go, how do I actually turn this into something? Do you feel like the course was set up for you to, you said succeed, but actually to actually go out there and do what we do? It was,
yeah, yeah, I think it gave enough insight to be able to take the knowledge that you learn on the course, turn it into marketing and content, and just get yourself out there. I think the hardest bit for anybody, and me included, was getting out there, and having that faith that it will work.
yeah, yeah,
And we have quite a lot of those conversations, don't we, at the end of teaching, what do I need to do next? And it's like, well, actually, it is literally one step at a time. It's very much like the course. In 10 months, how much have you learned? Right. Okay. So in the next 10 months, how much are you going to put into practice? So failure is not an option. You're always moving forward,
Do you
you know?
think having successful working hypnotherapists as lecturers, so one of the things what CPHT do is every lecturer has to be in practice and
Yeah.
has to be relevantly successful. Do you think that's important for the people who are sitting there listening, being lectured to and told how to do this, that those people are walking that walk as you sit there?
Yeah, definitely. It's a visual representation of everything we're taught. I've done courses before by people that have delivered the course but don't even practice what they're delivering. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, how do you know that this works, or how do you know this information is correct based on the fact that you're not in this field? And I think that, as a lecturer, when people come up to us with those questions that we know that we've conquered ourselves,
Yes.
we can then sit and go, well, I tried this and it helped,
Yeah.
rather than just leaving them with tumbleweed thinking, God, what's next? It gives them a chance to kind of look at it differently.
So one of the things what I get asked a lot from potential students who might want to come and learn is, well, what do you do once we've trained? What support am I going to get once I've qualified? So what would you say to that?
Definitely find yourself a decent supervisor and someone that's going to cheerlead for you whilst you're setting up your business.
But that's available.
Um, yeah, absolutely available. And also make sure that you are in any relevant groups that you can be in, whether that's Facebook groups or online groups, especially, small business groups as
Mhm.
well, because ultimately, as a hypnotherapist, it's great to have support from other hypnotherapists, but it's also great to have support from other small businesses,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they will resonate with some of the feelings that you have to go through when you're setting up in practice as well.
And what does CPHT offer?
Well, you've got obviously supervision, you've got CPD, you've then got your level 5 if you wish to carry on with more knowledge and qualifications with that as well. So as I think that was one of the things that I enjoyed about knowing that I was on this course, that there was always growth. You can
Yeah.
always learn more, you can always do more. I think at the time when I started, like getting my business up and running was a priority. So, learning another qualification didn't come in with that remit because I was very time poor. But then a couple of years later, being able to do my supervisor's course, and then obviously relearning the course to become a lecturer,
Hmm.
so there are plenty of opportunities moving
Yes.
forward. And I think there are not very many independent courses that I know of that offer that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you trained, what was the key highlight or key learning for you when you trained? If you picked out one thing from a 10-month course, which was like, that has,
Forever
that was,
ago.
sorry?
Forever ago.
Yeah, it was a
Um,
long time ago. Come on, think back.
do you know what? I think one of the things that really stuck out was the fact that I was a ridiculously new mum.
Mm,
Like I had oh gosh, so my daughter was born in the May and I was on your course in September. So she was only like 3.5 months old at the time. So that came with a lot of juggling. But one of the things that I think really stuck out for me was the fact that even though I was sleep deprived and exhausted, I still learned something.
mm.
But also it gave me the encouragement that I was able to step out of my lane
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
was in at the time. You know, like I said earlier, I think it was month 7 or 8 that I just sat down. I remember sitting in the room that we were in Peterborough, doodling away, thinking this is actually going to work. Like, this is viable. Like, I could do this. You know, there's probably nothing else that I've ever kind of felt so confident about aiming to do. And I think we see that in our students as well. I think, you know, we see all the wobbles, we see all the antsy bits, we see the buckets filling up, but then when you start to see them really believe at the end of the course that they are going to go into practice, it's almost like a really lovely moment, where everything seems to change, delivery changes, the room energy changes, because everybody's like, yes, I can do this.
So what is the funniest thing a student has ever asked you during training?
Gosh, I don't know. Do we have to learn the IC verbatim?
That's not funny. It's normally scary.
I know. I don't really know. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, we've had some difficult students in respect of things that they've asked us to work alongside. I don't think I've ever been asked anything really funny, not that I can think of or recall right now. Obviously the normal, you know, do you need a pocket watch?
Yeah.
That's usually like the first weekend.
Yeah.
I always just reply with, yeah, but it's up to you what brand you get.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah,
Okay.
no, I can't
So
think.
flipping it then, what's the most rewarding feedback you've ever had from a student?
I think I'm quite lucky because I get quite a lot of feedback from my students,
Mostly
and
about your
obviously,
shoes, though.
yeah, and my outfit, and where did you get that from? But yeah, I think some of the most rewarding feedback is probably stuff that they don't think that I see. So,
Yeah.
you know, I follow a lot of students, especially the ones I supervise on social media, and I actually do have a internal happy dance when I see that they've done something really awesome, or managed to become involved in something. But there are a couple of students that I know that have actually used our solution-focused approach and turned it into a learning tool, working in secondary schools with children that are really struggling with their behaviour. And for me, taking the knowledge and everything that they've learned on this course to create something so effective,
Yeah.
and then being able to deliver it in a school environment, that's pretty special.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what's the number one quote? What's your favorite quote?
Oh, I've had to write it down. Dr. Zeus, obviously,
Oh, wow.
obviously, you know, how can it not be? So yeah, life's too short to wake up with regrets. So love the people who treat you right, forgive the ones who don't, and believe that everything happens for a reason. That. If
There.
you get a chance, take it. If it changes your life, let it. Nobody said it would be easy. They just promised it would be worth it.
Fantastic.
Love it.
So what advice would you have for someone considering a career as a hypnotherapist?
Let's do it. Be more like. No, yeah, just, you know, there's kind of this element of choice that we totally forget about, because I know that I used to wake up thinking, oh God, what's going to happen today? And now I think I wake up thinking, oh, I wonder what today is going to bring. You know, it's a totally different perspective, and that's very much like what we teach. You know, it's about how you think, it's
Yeah.
about what kind of state of mind you put yourself in. And
Yes.
ultimately, if you come on the course and you spend 10 months on this course and you do nothing with it, we promise you will change, full stop,
Yeah.
because you can't not. But there's also this phenomenal element that it allows you to then go, and even if you don't want to be in practice, it allows you to think so very differently
Yeah.
about everything else that you want to do. I genuinely believe it should be taught in schools. I think every child should understand how the
Yeah.
brain works from as soon as they can understand it, because ultimately, how much more opportunity is that going to give people to be able to know that if they have an idea, they can do it, they
Yeah.
can fly
Wow.
with it.
So on that basis, I've got a last question, which I didn't tell you I was going to ask you.
Right.
If hypnotherapy were a superpower,
Yeah.
what would your superhero name be?
Oh my God, I don't know. How can you say that? I really don't know what my superhero name would be. Oh gosh, the way my brain works at the moment, you're probably going to have to give me a week to think about it.
No,
I don't
you got 10
actually know.
seconds.
10 seconds. Um, my superhero name.
What would your daughter call you?
Don't think I can say that. I don't know. I really don't know. That's really put me on the spot. I
I
just,
know. You're meant to be a solution-focused hypnotherapist.
I know, and I'm trying. I'm trying. Um, so what would my superpower be? Or what would my
No, no, what would
superpower
your
name
name
be?
be? Just your name. Hypnotherapy is the superpower. What would your
Okay.
name be?
Okay. Yeah, no, I still don't know. We're going to be on here for hours.
Right, then I'll change the question,
Okay, go on then.
even though you failed at that one.
Thanks. That's very solution focused of you.
If you were to be able to do hypnotherapy on
Yeah.
any character from history to
Oh,
help them
any
be a better person or a nicer person or achieve what they want to achieve, anything, who would you like to have as a client?
what that's not here now, like
Well,
definitely in history or just around.
well, you can go, but everybody's got to know who they are.
Um, I think that I would really, I'm not a sports person, but I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday. You know, anybody that worked in the racing industry and was having a bit of a blip about how they drive would
Motor
probably
racing.
be, yeah, would probably be my ideal.
So who?
Um, um, well, obviously, I would probably say Lewis Hamilton. I mean, he's obviously spot on in every form with
Well,
all of the things that he does. But to be able to, yeah, to be able to get people to understand the benefits of this for competition and competing,
yeah.
I think would be a huge win. But then obviously people that are just kind of need help full stop. I'm not that sort of person that you know, everybody has a desire to work with famous people at some point in their life. I don't.
No, it
Um,
was it was
no.
anybody. It could have been, we've had people say Elvis. We've had people, quite a few people who said John Lennon. I
Wow.
thought you was going to say Pink.
Yeah, well, of course she would be like the number one fan.
You
And I
know,
have had, you know, I have thought, you know, how can I positively visualize this happening? And she arrives on her tour bus down the street and jumps off and goes,
well, there
I
you
need
go.
some help, and I've heard you're the one to come to.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, anybody in racing and her
Okay, not
would
that
be
your
pretty
dad
cool.
owns his own racing garage, and not that you're a really super fan of Pink. Not we won't go there.
No.
So to finish, we better
Yes.
find out if people are engaged in everything you said and love who you are and your pink hair and your pink outfits and your pineapples, which are everywhere, and Hummingbird Hypnotherapy. Tell us more about how we can contact you and also what schools you lecture at.
Okay, so you can find Hummingbird Hypnotherapy across most platforms. I'm on Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also TikTok. And I lecture for CPHT Peterborough and CPHT Nottingham alongside you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for
And
having me. It's been great.
I will put your connections in the YouTube post. So thank you very
Cool.
much and
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing you next time we're lecturing together. See
See
you
you
soon.
later.
Bye.